Hello students, welcome to this another discussion video. So in this video, I will be discussing to you one of the common tasks performed by an accountant every end of the month. This is bank reconciliation. So at the end of this lesson, you should be able to identify reconciling items, prepare a bank reconciliation statement using the three methods. And third, prepare adjusting entries to reconcile cash balance per book and cash balance per bank. Before we proceed and discuss the details of bank reconciliation, let us first understand kung bakit ba kailangan ng bank reconciliation. So, bakit importante na mag-prepare ng bank reconciliation ng accountant at the end of the accounting period. So, let us start with differentiating the different types of deposits. So, we would know also on what type of deposits that would need a bank reconciliation. So we have here the types of deposits. We have the savings deposit, a demand deposit, and a time deposit. So this savings deposit is an interest-bearing deposit. Usually, a depositor will be given a passbook as an evidence na meron siyang deposito sa bangko na yan. Now, in terms of withdrawal, yung depositor ay makakapag-withdraw lang sa bank if dadalhin niya yung passbook niya tapos magpi-fill out siya ng withdrawal slip. So that's the usual deposit and saving or withdrawal na transaction related to savings deposit. Although yung ATM class, yung if you are to open an account in a bank and you are given ATM, so that is still considered a savings deposit. So although yung manner of withdrawing amount from your deposit is different. You'll not be using any more passbook, but you'll just make use of your ATM card and go to a machine na mag-dispense ng pera so that you can withdraw your money. So the thing is, pag ATM yan, most probably meron din siyang isiset na certain amount para or yung balance certain balance of your account for it to earn interest. But the thing is, savings deposit is an interest-bearing deposit. The other one is the demand deposit. So this demand deposit, other terms for this is current account or checking account or commercial deposit. So ito yung type of deposit wherein, of course, pag magde-deposit ka, same lang with the savings deposit that you have to prepare a deposit slip. But if you are to get money from your account, here, you have to draw a check or prepare a check para makakuha ka ng pera. So, this type of deposit, meron kang cheque. So every time you want to get an amount, or you want to withdraw from this particular account, or demand deposit or saving or current account, so you have to issue a check in favor of the person that you are paying. So just take note that demand deposit is a non-interest bearing deposit. So, wala kang interest sa ganitong klase na deposit. Although, there is, or the banks, no, meron silang special products na deposit, no, ang tawag dyan ay ito, no, now accounts. So now accounts, now stands for negotiable orders or withdrawals. So ito siya, checking account din siya, no? So this type of checking account pays interest. So iba ito siya, na para siyang hybrid. Kasi if that's a plain checking account, it will not really give the depositor interest. But if it is a now account, um, you have this agreement with the bank now wherein you have to maintain a certain amount of money in your now account in order to keep earning interest. So, say for example, for you to earn interest, dapat ang balanse mo ay 50,000 for example. So, only non-business customers may open now accounts. Businesses must use regular checking accounts. So, yun, hybrid siya. So, checking account, mag-i-issue ka ng cheque pag uh, withdraw ka ng cash na from your account, but then it's still earning. So, this is a special type of deposit na offered by banks to their valued clients. So, the last one is yung time deposit. So, yung time deposit, ito yung type of deposit na meron kang sinet na term kung kailan mo siya pwedeng ma-withdraw. So, this is also an interest-bearing deposit. And the evidence, no, yung ebidensya mo na meron kang time deposit is yung ibibigay sa'yo na certificate of deposit. So, nandun yung amount ng deposit mo, kung magkano yung rate, no, ng interest na ibibigay sa'yo ng bangko. So, the thing is, you have to wait, no, for the time specified in your certificate bago mo ma-withdraw itong time deposit mo. Although, if you really need the money, pwede mo namang i-pre-terminate yung time deposit mo. Kaya nga lang, yung interest na ibibigay sa'yo ay babalik doon sa regular interest rates na applicable for regular savings deposit since you pre-terminated the time deposit. Okay? So, we have to understand, class, no, na in preparing bank reconciliation, or when do we prepare pala bank reconciliation? So, we prepare bank reconciliation if yung balanse ng cash natin per record, no, does not reconcile with the balance na reflected in the bank statement. So, pag hindi equal yung bank balance mo per book, no, or per records ng entity sa bank balance mo as reflected in the bank statement reported by the bank, then there is a need for us to prepare a bank reconciliation. Kasi ano bang ginagawa ng bank reconciliation? It is a statement that brings into agreement the bank balance per book and the bank balance per bank. Okay? So, bakit ba kailangang balanse sila? So, to understand that, let us try to go over, no, kung ano ba yung mga transactions na nire-record natin sa ating books, and ano ba yung mga transactions na nagre-reflect din sa ating bank. By the way, class, no, of the three deposits or the three types of deposits here, what requires usually, no, a bank reconciliation is itong demand deposit. Kasi ito yung type of deposit na marami kang transactions, no? So, aside from your cash deposits, meron ka ring mga checks na ini-issue sa different payees. So, most probably, ito yung um, type of deposit na magkakaroon ng timing difference in recording. So, therefore, ito yung type of deposit na malamang hindi equal yung balanse ng cash balance per book and yung cash balance per bank. Okay, so let's have here. Now, let's try to compare the book records and the bank records. So, you see, if you are implementing impressed system, na if you can still recall, yung impressed system, ito yung ginagamit para as a form of internal control measures ng entity. So, ano nga ba yung impressed system? So, lahat ng collections ng company, dapat ay i-deposit yan intact sa bangko. And then, lahat ng withdrawals, no, lahat ng disbursements ng company, dapat i-course yan through issuance of check. Now, let's try to understand, no, kung bakit ba maaari kang gumamit ng records ng bank, no, para ma-check mo kung tama ba yung records mo per book. So, we have here transactions. So, these are the usual transactions sa company book records versus your bank records. So, ito yung usual na mga transactions na related sa cash. So, of course, cash receipts, no? So, sa atin, sa entity, ano ba yung mga usual transactions na nakaka-receive ka ng cash? So, siguro kung meron kang collection or siguro kung meron kang cash sales. No? So, when we record, no, when we have a collection, for example, or a sales transaction, diba, usually we debit our cash in bank and we credit the appropriate account. So, if that's a collection, then you'll credit accounts receivable. If that's cash sales, then you have to credit sales, no, with the same amount. So, dito sa records natin, cash in bank account, no, will have a normal balance of debit kasi we consider it as our assets. Of course, we know that cash in bank is an asset. So, every time there is an increase in our cash balance, and we have to debit the same. Now, in terms naman of cash disbursement, every time na meron tayong disbursements class, di ba credit natin yan to cash and bank? So, for example, nagbayad ka sa yung vendor, no, or sa supplier. So, you'll be debiting accounts payable and you'll credit cash in bank. So, that's how we record it, no, sa entity. So, as what we have learned in your accounting 111. Now, take note class that itong cash ledger na to, ideally, this amounts here, knowing that we are implementing impress system na lahat ng collection natin will be deposited intact to the bank and lahat ng disbursements natin ay ito through mo or i-issue mo or mag-i-issue ka ng check na sa lahat ng cash disbursement mo. So, knowing that ganun yung sistema sa impress system, so dapat kung ano yung record na meron tayo per cash ledger, no, sa entity, dapat yun din yung magre-reflect doon sa ating bank statement, which is a record of a bank or of the bank. No? So, ito yung records ng bank na in a form of bank statement. So, every time na meron tayong deposits, no? So, of course, sa bangko na point of view, yung cash receipts nila galing sa atin, of course, is in the form of deposits. No? So, example, pag nag-deposit yung company, no? Palagay lang natin si Company X. So, pag nag-deposit si Company X sa bangko, yung bangko ay magre-recognize, of course, ng increase ng cash and i-credit niya yung account ni Company X. So, bakit ganito? Kasi, on the point of view of the bank class, they treat na our deposit as their liability. So, kung dito sa atin, sa records ng book, yung cash and bank natin dito ay considered as asset natin. Ito naman, sa point of view naman ng bangko, every time they receive a deposit from us or from the entity, they're going to credit it to the account of the company. Kasi anong ibig sabihin nun? Ibig sabihin nun, they're acknowledging their liability, no, sa company na nag-deposit. Kasi sa point of view ng bangko, ang deposit natin ay liability nila. So in short here, itong entry na to, they're actually recognizing an asset and at the same time a liability. So specifically, deposit liability for Company X. So kaya Company X na lang ang sinulat dyan kasi sa system ng bangko, doon mo ipapasok sa account ni Company X. And that account, of course, is isa sa mga subsidiary ledgers ng deposit liability. So, lahat ng may deposito sa bangko, kung i-add up mo yun yung magko-compose or magko-comprise ng deposit liability na i-report ng bangko. Okay? So, I would just like to point out that dito, sa record natin sa company, debit, yung cash and bank natin. Say, for example, this is cash and bank, Metro Bank, no? So, yung mga transactions dyan, sa cash and bank na, for this specific na banko, so, makikita mo yan sa cash ledger or sa cash and bank ledger na ng company. So, dito naman sa bank records, so, makikita mo yan sa bank statement as credit, no? Kasi that's why, na ang tawag dito sa bank na point of view na pag meron kang deposit, credit sa account mo. Kasi, in the point of view of the bank, it signifies na pag credit yung account mo, nag-increase yung account mo. Okay? Sa cash disbursements naman, so ito yung check-in, no? Kasi this is a checking account or a demand deposit. So, every time nag-disburse yung company, of course, yung payee pupunta ng bangko and ipipresent for payment. Now, pag may nag-present ng cheque ng company doon sa bangko, i-debit naman nila yung account ng company. So, this signifies na tanggalin lang muna natin yung cash and bank. Cash lang, para consistent. Now, yung ating, again, pag merong cash disbursement, yung payee pupunta ng bangko. So, ipipresent yung cheque issued by the company. So, sa point of view ng bangko, i-debit naman nila yung account ni Company X in this example. So, mag-credit sila ng cash kasi nag-cash out sila. So, debiting the account of a company in the point of view of the bank means decreasing the account of the depositor. So again, sa bank na point of view, pag sinabi mong bank credits, it has the effect of increasing your deposit. Tapos pag sinabing bank debits, it has the effect of decreasing your deposits. Okay? So at this point, you have to understand na yung cash in bank ledger natin, supposedly, kung walang problema sa timing, difference sa pag-record, so ideally, dapat yung cash in bank natin na i-report sa ating company should tally or should equal to the record of the bank. Ito, yung Company X. So, dapat kung magkano ang balanse dito, dapat yun din ang balanse per bank statement. Kasi nga, di ba, kung ano yung mga ni-record mo as receipt dito, ni-report mo man doon as deposit. Kung ano yung mga check issuances mo dito, of course, ipapresent man yan for payment doon sa bangko. So, ideally, etong cash in bank per ledger, no, or tinatawag nating book records, should reconcile with that amount na reported per bank statement ng bangko. No? So, that's the ideal setup. So, ito, no? Ideally, cash balance per book should be equal to cash balance per bank statement. Kasi nga, mirror lang yung mirror account, yung bank account mo sa iyong cash in bank na record ng company. Okay? However, for some reasons na like errors in recording, no? So, kung nagkamali yung isang party, nagkamali, for example, yung entity, or nagkamali yung bank. So, of course, hindi na magre-reconcile or hindi na mag-equal yung amount na i-report ng bangko sa amount na i-report ng entity. Or, pwede rin namang timing difference in recording, no? So, because of these reasons, ano yung timing difference? So, yung timing difference, for example, na-record na as deposit sa point of view ng entity, pero hindi pa nag-reflect as deposit doon sa bangko. Or for example, nag-record ka na ng disbursement or check issuance, pero hindi pa nakapag-present, hindi pa pumunta yung payee sa bangko para ma-encash yung cheque. So, ibig sabihin, hindi pa yan magre-reflect doon sa bank statement. Okay? So, for those reasons, now it is common for these records, no, meaning the cash in bank per ledger and the cash balance per bank statement to report different amounts at any given time. So, with this, there is now a need to identify the cause of the discrepancy. So, ang tawag natin ng cause of the discrepancy is yung mga reconciling items and prepare a bank reconciliation. Okay? So, just to have a picture, no, a glimpse of the reconciliation or bank reconciliation. So, parang ganito, diba? The entity will be maintaining a cash ledger. So, yung businesses, no, meron silang cash at bank account or cash in bank na ledger. So, dyan magre-reflect lahat ng transactions, no, pertaining to cash, no, for this particular entity. Supposedly, lahat ng mga transactions na yon, kasi nga ang implement natin ay impress system. So, lahat ng receipts, i-deposit sa bangko, lahat ng disbursement, idadaan sa cheque. So, dapat yung mga records, no, or mga transactions na naka-reflect dito, dapat magre-reflect din per bank statement. Na, so, yung bank statement, dapat the same lang sana, no, yung mga records or magre-reflect doon. Kasi nga, kung ano lang yung dineposito mo or kung ano lang yung mga dinisburse mo, yun lang din dapat magre-reflect sa bangko. But then, there is what we call mga reconciling items. So, ibig sabihin, posible yung merong error, posible yung merong timing difference sa pag-record, or posible na may mga credit yung bangko na hindi alam ng entity, or baka merong dinebit ang bangko na hindi alam ang entity. So, kapag hindi equal, no, yung balanse ng bank statement, tsaka nung cash in bank, no, per ledger ng entity, so pag hindi equal yan, ibig sabihin, merong mga tinatawag na reconciling items. So, pag na-identify mo na yung mga reconciling items, pwede ka nang magawa ng bank reconciliation statement. So, yung bank reconciliation statement natin, this explains the difference, no? Bakit ba hindi pareho yung balanse ng bangko at yung cash in bank balance na ni-report per record ng entity? So, dyan lalabas, no, yung bank reconciliation. So, ano nga ba yung bank reconciliation? So, ito yung sample ng bank reconciliation, no? So, it is a statement which brings into agreement the cash balance per book and the cash balance per bank. So, with the aid of the identified reconciling items, no? So, ito yung sample ng ating bank reconciliation. So, kung titingnan natin, for example, here, yung cash balance per bank statement niya daw ay $10,000. Tapos, ang balance per record ng depositor is 8,525 lang. So, kung titingnan natin, hindi sila pantay, hindi sila equal. 10,000 and 8,525. So, the bank reconciliation statement will give us the idea kung saan ba sila hindi nagka-agree, saan ba sila nagka-differ. No, ano ba yung mga rason kung bakit hindi sila or hindi equal yung amounts nila? So, yun pala merong mga reconciling items. So, ano-ano yung mga reconciling items? Okay, take note class that they have two groups no of reconciling items. We have what we call mga book reconciling items and the other one is the bank reconciling items. So, isa-isahin natin ito. Ano ba yung mga book reconciling items? So, as enumerated, book reconciling items includes credit memos, debit memos, and mga book errors. Whereas bank reconciling items includes deposits in transit, outstanding checks, and mga bank errors naman. Sige, isa-isahin natin. So, una itong mga book reconciling items. So, first in the list is itong credit memos. Ano ba yung credit memo? So, take note, no? Ito yung mga items na kailangan nating i-reflect sa book, no? Since they are book reconciling items. So, specifically, what is this credit memo? Credit memo refers to items not representing deposits credited by the bank to the account of the depositor but not yet recorded by the depositor as cash receipt. So, take note, etong credit memo, mga deposits na hindi naman galing sa depositor. No? Pero, natanggap ng bangko at credit niya sa account ng depositor. So, these are bank credits reflected in the bank statement but not yet reflected as book debits in the cash and bank account. So, parang walang knowledge si entity na meron palang credit no, yung bangko sa kanyang account. Diyan niya na lang nalaman na merong bank credit or merong credit memo when the entity received no, the bank statement na galing ng bangko. So, itong credit memo have the effect of increasing the bank balance. So, ang nangyari is, yung balanse mo per bank ay mas malaki compared sa balanse mo per book. So, meaning yung book records mo ay understated. Kasi, nag-credit na yung bangko pero hindi mo pa na-reflect or hindi mo pa na-record yung cash receipts no per records of the company. So have here examples no. So first is you have notes collected by bank in favor of the depositor and credited to its account. So yan no, example yung customer ng entity ay nag-deposit na lang automatically doon sa account ng depositor. Na? So, magbayad siya, mag-usob yan na karon no, na bank transactions na lang, online transactions na lang, or bank online payment na lang. So, hindi pa alam ni customer or ni entity na meron na palang dineposito si customer. So, only when makakita sila ng bank statement. Although, I would say no, na ngayon, hindi na masyadong matagal talaga na malaman ni ano ito, ni entity kung meron nag-reflect na deposit na from other customers. Bakit? Kasi 'di ba ngayon nauso na yung online banking. So it makes it easier for the company to verify kung meron na bang deposito yung customer. Unlike before class na maghihintay ka talaga ng bank statement, no, at the end of the month galing sa bangko. So current very accessible naman yung information because of online or internet banking. Another is matured time deposit or sorry, proceeds of loan credited to the account of the depositor. So yan na nag-loan ang depositor sa bangko, and instead of ibigay pa ni deposito ay ni bank sa depositor, i-credit na niya na lang sa account ng depositor. So diretso na lang og credit doon sa account ng depositor. Or what if nag-mature yung time deposit? So pag nag-mature yung time deposit, automatic the bank will just transfer it, no, or credit it to the current account of the depositor. So these are the examples of credit memo. So again, ano yung effect ng credit memo? Ang credit memo, ang effect niya, no, is dapat yung balanse natin per book should be increased kasi nga it's a legit cash receipt na na-acknowledge na ng bangko pero hindi pa na-record in the point of view of the depositor. So another book reconciling item is a debit memo. Sa ano itong debit memo? This refers naman to items not representing checks paid by bank which are charged or debited by the bank to the account of the depositor but not yet recorded with the depositor as cash disbursement. So ito naman, nagdeduct na yung bangko, no, sa account ng depositor pero hindi niya pa alam until such time na nakita niya yung bank statement na binigay ng bangko. So these are bank debits reflected in the bank statement but not yet reflected as book credits in the cash and bank account. So take note that debit memos have the effect of decreasing naman, no, the bank balance. So therefore, pag meron tayong debit memo, no, kasi this is a book reconciling item, dapat doon sa ating bank reconciliation, i-deduct natin ay yung debit memo. Kasi you have to reconcile, no? So if this amount has already been deducted from the bank statement, so dapat sa records din ng company, i-report na natin as disbursement. So ano yung mga examples ng debit memo? So common examples are first, NSF check. Kasi class usually yung pag nag-deposit tayo sa bangko ng cheque, i-acknowledge man niya yan, no? So of course, when you deposited the check to the bank, they are going to credit it to your account first. Pero after ng clearing period, if ma-stamp na siya as NSF, no, na na-ascertain na wala palang pondo yung cheque na ito, i-return niya ng bangko. So since na-credit na niya before, magde-debit na lang siya din ng the same amount, no? And reflect it as NSF na check. Okay, so it has the effect of decreasing naman, no, your cash balance. Another is ito, technically defective checks. Ano yung technically defective checks? So example, yung amount in words, saka amount in figures, hindi na-reconcile. So, sabi doon sa amount in words, 10,000. Pero doon sa figures kay 1,000 lang. So, since hindi nag-reconcile, no, tapos hindi siya agad nakita ng teller, so na-accept na ng teller yung cheque, so ma-reflect na yun doon sa bank account, no? Pero after checking na it is technically defective, so of course the bank cannot really accept that No, kasi defective yung cheque. So, i-debit na lang niya ulit doon sa account ng depositor. No, so, there are some cases, no, especially ngayon na bawal na yung merong mga errors. Sa noon, okay lang na merong correction, no, tas mag-countersign ka lang. Pero ngayon, ang mga bangko, mas stricto na sila, no, in terms of merong mga erasures, no, sa cheque. Another is the bank service charges. So, pag bank service charge, kailan ba merong bank service charge? So, for example, nag-order ka ng checkbook, naubos na yung cheque mo sa nag-order ka sa bangko ng checkbook. So, instead yung bangko maniningil sa'yo kung magkano yung value or magkano yung amount ng checkbook. So, instead, i-debit niya na lang sa account mo. No? It will be, yun na, bank service charge. Pwede rin naman class, no, yung bank service charge, for example, meron kang cheque na tumalbog, na nag-bounce yung check mo, yung cheque na inisyo mo ay nag-bounce, for example, kasi wala kang pondo, banks also will charge, no, a certain amount. So, i-reflect na yan, i-debit na yan sa iyong account. Another is loan amortization. So, this happens if there is this agreement na between the bank and the depositor na yung amortization ng loan niya ay i-debit niya na lang sa account. So, meaning yung sa repayment na ng loan. So, every due date, for example, say, ang yung agreement kay every 5th of the month. So, automatic na yan, no, nakaset na doon sa system ng bangko na every 5th of the month, magde-debit siya this much, no, galing sa account ng depositor pambayad ng kanyang utang. So, that's debit memo. So, again, since this is a book reconciling item, dapat i-reflect natin doon sa ating bank reconciliation as a deduction, no, from our cash balance per book. Kasi, na-record na as disbursement sa bangko na point of view, pero hindi pa lang na-record as disbursement sa books, no, or sa records ng entity. So, dapat lang na i-record natin. Okay, the last one for the book reconciling items, we have book errors. So, this refers to erroneous entries by the entity affecting the balance per book. So, depende siya class, no? How do we account for this? So, depende siya kung ano yung effect or ano yung impact ng error. So, say for example, the impact is na-overstate niya yung cash. So, kung na-overstate niya yung cash, of course, you just have to deduct para ma-correct, no, yung error. Or say for example, na-understate niya yung cash, no? The error has understated your cash. So, para ma-correct lang din, you have to add it back. No? So, yun, depende lang kung ano yung klase ng error. Pag error, you have really to analyze first, no, kung ano yung effect or ano yung impact ng error sa cash balance mo. So, if you have ascertained already the impact, whether it has understated or overstated your cash, then that's the time na pwede ka nang, or pwede mo nang gawin, no, yung necessary adjusting entry or adjustment. So, kung kulang, dagdagan mo. Kung sobra naman, then magdeduct ka ng certain amount, no, para makorek yung balance. So, those are the mga book reconciling items. So, you have credit memos, debit memos, and book errors. So, let's proceed to the bank reconciling items. So, una-una, no, sa listahan is itong deposits in transit. So, deposits in transit refers to collections already recorded by the depositor as cash receipts but not yet reflected on the bank statement. So, ito naman, baliktad, no? Baliktad doon sa credit memo. Kung kanina sa credit memo, ang naunang nag-record is ang bangko. Ito naman, ang nauna nang naka-record is ang company. Tapos, hindi pa lang siya na-acknowledge, hindi pa siya na-reflect sa bank statement. So, these are book debits. So, mga debits, no, sa records ng company reflected in the cash and bank account but not yet reflected as bank credits in the bank statement. So, nandun na sa debit per record ng company pero wala pa doon sa bank credits na per record ng bangko. So, what are the examples? Examples of deposit in transit ay yung mga collections already forwarded by the bank for deposit but too late na to appear in the bank statement. So, careful kayo dito ha kasi yung too late na yan, it is only possible if the bank value you as a client. So, they will just accept late deposits and that late deposits will be credited to the account of the company in the following banking day. So, no, dapat alam natin na kapag meron tayong pinorward sa bangko for deposit, dapat makredit agad siya. Pag hindi man siya na-credit, there's something wrong, no? So, meaning baka may problema na. So, you have to call the attention of the bank or no, you check on the employee. Baka hindi talaga dideposito yung pera. Kasi ako before na victim ako niyan, no? Yung sinabihan lang ako, I perform bank reconciliation, pero sinabihan lang ako ng cashier namin na hindi pa daw nag-reflect ng banko. Sasabihan niya lang daw yung bank. No, pero it turned out pala na nagamit niya yung pera kaya hindi siya nag-deposit agad sa bangko. So, anyways, it was later found out na meron palang mga deposits na hindi niya talaga pinorward sa bangko kasi kulang na, kasi nagamit na niyo yung iba. So, it's good to know na pag nag-deposit pala tayo sa bangko, automatic yan makakredit. Except na lang kung late ka na pumunta ng bangko, tapos they will treat that already as a deposit na sa following day. Pero dapat mag-reflect na yan sa account ng company, not later pagka next banking day. Kasi pag hindi pa yan nag-reflect, no, may problema na. Another is yung undeposited collections. Of course, no, yung mga deposit in transit. So, kahit hindi mo nadala sa bangko yung pera, nandyan pa lang, no, cash on hand pa lang, na nasa kamay ng entity, so still we consider it as deposit in transit. Kasi sa Impress system naman, 'di ba, lahat ng collections natin i-deposit naman talaga natin sa bangko. So, kahit na undeposited collection yan, hindi mo pa nadala sa bangko, still we consider it already as deposit in transit kasi na-record mo na yan, no, sa entity na books. Hindi pa lang talaga siya nag-reflect doon sa bangko kasi hindi mo pa siya dinala sa bangko. So, still that is deposit in transit. So, ang effect is kulang yung amount na nag-reflect sa bank statement natin. So, kung magawa tayo ng bank reconciliation, dapat dagdagan natin yung balance per bank statement, no, with this amount sa deposit in transit. So, next reconciling item is your outstanding checks. So, yung outstanding check refers to check already recorded by the depositor as cash disbursements but not yet reflected in the bank statement. So, these are book credits reflected in the bank or the cash and bank account but not yet reflected as bank debits in the bank statement. So, in short, no, sa record ng company natin, na-deduct mo na as disbursement. Pero kasi hindi pa pumunta yung payee doon sa bangko para magpa-encash, no, or para i-transact yung cheque, so sa point ng bangko, wala pa talaga siyang i-record na transaction. So, deducted na doon sa records ng company pero hindi pa na-deduct doon sa records per bank, no? So, waiting pa na magpunta yung payee para ma-encash yung cheque. And, ultimately, be reflected as bank debits, no, sa bank statement. So, ano yung effect nito? So, pag gumawa tayo ng reconciliation, outstanding checks are usually deducted from your bank balance, no, para uh, para ma-reconcile na siya with the records of the book. Then lastly, we have bank errors. So sa bank errors, this refers naman to erroneous entries by the bank in the bank account of the depositor. So depende, no? Like for example, namali ang bangko og credit. Imbis unta 10,000 is deposito na siya sa lahi nga ba depositor, nga nabutang sa to ang bank account. That's a bank error, and of course, it should be corrected. So usually banks will correct that, no? Makitaan man na nila dayon because ang tellers pod mo disbalance man pod na siya or magreklamo pod tong depositor nga nganong wala iyahang deposit nga inani ang amount. Dapat kung kinsa ang nakamali or kinsa ang namali, like kung ang bangko ang namali, of course siya dapat mo correct sa iya ang mali. So, the same lang din kung depende, no? Unsay treatment sa bank error, i-add ba na siya or i-deduct? It depends again on the effect of the error. So, if the error has overstated your cash balance, then of course, you have to deduct para makorek siya. If, for example, it has understated your bank balance, then you have to add it para ma-correct po ang amount. No? So, kung understated, dungangan. Kung overstated, kuhaan para makorek na siya. So, let us proceed to the forms of bank reconciliation. So, we have here 3 forms, no, or 3 methods of performing bank reconciliation. So, ito yung mga format na ng bank recon. So, one is the adjusted balance method. Second is the book-to-bank balance method. And then the last one is the bank-to-book method. Now, among the 3 forms of bank reconciliation class, ang gagamitin natin every month is ito talagang adjusted balance method. Bakit? Kasi itong adjusted balance method, ito yung method na magbibigay sa atin ng correct cash balance. So, for example kung ang question or ang problem, nagtatanong kung magkano ba dapat ang correct cash or amount of cash to be reported in your financial statement. So, dapat ang gamitin natin na method is yung adjusted balance method. Kasi yung outcome nito is really the correct cash balance. Now, ito naman book-to-bank method. Ang outcome nito class ay yung balance per bank statement. Kasi in this particular form of bank reconciliation, what we're going to do is yung book balance natin or yung cash balance per book natin, dapat ma-reconcile natin sa ating bank or sa ating cash balance per bank. No? So, meaning, yung output or yung ending balance na makukuha natin sa book-to-bank method is yung unadjusted balance ng bank. So, from unadjusted na book to unadjusted na bank balance. So, that's book-to-bank method. Yung bank-to-book method naman, baliktad. No? Nag-start ka with the unadjusted bank balance and you'll end up with the unadjusted book balance. No? So, nireconcile mo lang yung balanse ng bank patungo sa balanse ng book. So, again, what method to use? Ideally, we have to use the adjusted balance method. So, isa-isahin lang muna natin. So, for the adjusted balance method, so the book balance and the bank balance are brought to a correct cash balance that must appear on the balance sheet. So, ito yung pro forma na reconciliation under the adjusted balance method. So, mag-start ka with your book balance, tapos idagdag mo yung mga reconciling items, mga book reconciling items. So, sabi natin, yung credit memo, di ba, ang effect, ang nahitabuan ni is, na-reflect na sa bangko, pero wala pa na-reflect sa ato ang record sa book. So, para makorek, no, or para ma-adjust niya ato ang book balance, i-add na to ang mga credit memos. Tapos for the debit memos, i-deduct pod nato siya. Kaya nga naman, per bank, na-deduct naman sila. So, wala pa nato na report as disbursement sa ato ang records. So, what you have to do is you simply deduct the debit memos to get our adjusted balance per book. So, kung sa bank pod na point of view, so mag-start ka with the unadjusted bank balance. Asa man nato ni makita nato na siya sa ato ang bank statement, no? Tan-aw lang nato ang ending balance didto. Kani pong book balance, makita pud nato ni siya sa ato ang cash ledger. So tan-aw lang nato kung pila ang balance didto. So if you have already your bank balance, you add lang deposit in transit. Ngano ganito? Because ang deposit in transit is na-record na per book pero wala pa nang reflect per bank statement. So, ibig sabihin yung amount dito ay kulang pa, no? To reflect the correct cash balance. So, after that, you deduct the outstanding checks. Bakit? Because per records natin sa company, disbursements na yan. Kaso lang hindi pa lang na-present for payment, no, ng mga payee sa bangko. So, you have to deduct outstanding checks para ma-reflect ang adjusted bank balance. Okay, so again, take note lang na yung adjusted balance per book should be equal to your adjusted balance per bank. So, dapat equal itong dalawa kasi this is your correct cash balance. No? So, of course, dapat pareha sila kasi you're trying to reconcile, no, the balance per book and the balance per bank. So that's your adjusted balance method. So let's proceed to book to bank. So sa book to bank naman, so the book balance is reconciled with the bank balance or the book balance is adjusted to equal to bank balance. So take note class na ito dito, we are actually starting with an adjusted book balance, yung nakuha natin sa ating cash ledger. Tapos, ang ginawa dito, kasi 'di ba ang atong objective is dapat ang atong book balance mo reconcile sa ato ang bank balance, which is reflected in our bank statement. So what happens here is that lahat na mga book reconciling items, ang treatment mo ay the same lang doon sa adjusted balance method. So, ibig sabihin, yung mga credit memo, i-add mo yan, tsaka yung mga debit memo, i-deduct mo yan. So, same, no, sa ginawa dito. In-add yung credit memo, diniduct yung mga debit memo. Kasi mga book reconciling items yan sila. Now, for the bank reconciling items, yun yung mga items na dapat i-reverse natin yung treatment. So, bakit natin i-reverse? Kasi 'di ba again, what we want is that itong balance natin per book ay magiging or mo equal siya sa balance natin per bank, no? Or itong i-reconcile sila. So, dapat ang mo-reflect diri is katong balance sa atong bank statement nga unadjusted. Now, what are the bank reconciling items? So, unang-una, deposits in transit. So, here, bakit diniduct yung deposit in transit? I-deduct natin ang deposit in transit. Bakit? Kasi, itong deposit in transit, nandito na yan sa book balance. Pero, since gusto natin na ang mag-reflect, no, or gusto natin na yung book balance na to, no, i-reflect natin or mag-reconcile siya with the bank balance. So, yung ginawa natin, dapat i-deduct natin yung mga deposit in transit. Kasi nga, nandito na yan, na-include na yan dito sa book balance, pero hindi pa naka-reflect sa bank balance. So, we have to deduct deposit in transit. Another reconciling item sa bank is outstanding check. Di ba yung outstanding check, naka-deduct na siya per bank, per book balance. Sa entity na records, naka-deduct na siya. Pero sa bank na records, of course, wala pa kasi waiting for the payee to present it for payment. So, sa ato pa, itong book balance, no, na nandito is kulang. No, kulang siya if you want na ang mag-reflect is yung bank balance. So, para ma-reconcile yung book balance mo sa bank balance, dapat i-add back mo yung outstanding check. Kasi it was deducted already in your book balance. Okay? So, again, pag book to bank method, yung mga book reconciling items, as is lang yung treatment, pero yung mga bank reconciling items, dapat i-reverse mo yung treatment. Kasi 'di ba sa adjusted balance method, yung deposit in transit are usually added and outstanding checks are usually deducted. So dito, i-reverse mo yung treatment. Outstanding checks shall be added, deposit in transit shall be deducted. And then let's have the last method. We have the bank to book method. So ito, baliktad naman nung kanina. So under this method, the bank balance is reconciled with the book balance or the bank balance is adjusted to equal to the book balance. So nag-start naman tayo ngayon sa unadjusted bank balance. So gusto natin itong balanse na to ay mag-reconcile with the book balance. So the same lang gihapon class. So what we're going to do is lahat ng mga bank reconciling items, ang treatment natin ay the same sa adjusted balance method. Say for example, your deposit in transit, di ba that's a bank reconciling item, it will still be treated as an addition. No, addition lang gihapon na siya. Whereas our outstanding checks, which is again a bank reconciling item, is still considered as a deduction. Tapos, yung mga book reconciling items, yun naman yung i-reverse yung treatment. Na i-reverse natin ang ating treatment for book reconciling items. Ano yung mga book reconciling items? Unang-una, yung credit memo. Diba usually credit memo, i-add natin yan sa ating bank balance, sa ating book balance. So dito, kasi gusto natin na yung bank balance natin ay mag-ano siya, dito sa book balance, mag-reconcile siya with the book balance. So therefore, we have to deduct credit memo kasi yung credit memo, na-add na yan siya sa bank balance pero hindi pa nag-reflect dito sa book balance. Whereas, itong debit memo naman, ina-add back natin or in-add back natin kasi sa bank balance, deducted na yan. Pero sa book balance, wala pa. So, you have to add it back para mag-reconcile yung bank balance mo sa book balance. Okay, so just to sum up our discussion, mas maganda kung meron tayong illustration. So, this illustration here, this is for record or the records of company X. So, we have here the cash records. So, ito yung record ng company. Ito yung mga specific cash receipts and cash disbursements. And then, ito yung summary na ng cash ledger ni company X. So, we have a total cash receipts of 150,000. So, yung 150 dito, yung yung breakdown niya, ayan. Yung cash disbursement naman ay 100, yung breakdown niya ay ito naman. So, with that, of course, kung i-deduct natin yung 100,000 sa 150, ang balanse ng cash natin per book or per record ng company ay 50,000. That's 150 minus 100,000. So, meron na tayong 50,000. Ito naman dito, these are information coming from the bank. So, ito naman yung nag-reflect sa bank statement niya. Tapos, meron siyang mga additional information here. So, ito daw yung bank statement ni Company X sa kanyang deposit kay First Bank. So, CM stands for credit memo, DM stands for debit memo, SC stands for service charge, and RT stands for return check. So, meron dito mga additional information that you have to consider. So, ano yung requirement? The requirement is to prepare a bank reconciliation statement using the adjusted balance method, the book to bank method, and a bank to book method. Okay, so to answer this, let me um, transfer to an Excel file. So to answer the illustration, I have here the Excel file. So let's have a discussion on how to perform a bank reconciliation. So what are the general procedures na in preparing a bank reconciliation? So first, of course, you should have your records no, per book, and you can get that from the cash ledger no, or your ledger no, ng cash and bank mo. And also, another is your bank statement. So you will need your bank statement. Usually, banks will give bank statement on a monthly basis. But as I've said, no, since ngayon ay marami ng online, no, accessible na information because of internet banking. So the entity can also access it through online. So mag-ano lang ka, no, mag-set ka lang ng cut-off no, na date kung ano yung gusto mong transactions na makita no, na certain or specific dates. Now, the first thing that you have to do, na if you have already your cash ledger, that is the records ng company, and your bank statement, that's the records of the bank. So the first thing that you have to do is you determine first no, the balance per book and the balance per bank. So in our example, no, ito yung ating ito yung detalye ng ating cash ledger. Ito naman yung detalye ng ating bank statement. So if you are to look into the balance, no, yung open balance ng cash in bank natin sa records ng company, so that would be your total receipts minus your total disbursements, or your total debits minus your total credits. So looking at the figures here, ito yung parang summary na nasa kanyang T account. So yung itong sa taas, ito yung detalye. Of course, when you perform bank reconciliation, kailangan natin yung detalyado, no? Hindi yung summary na lang. Kailangan natin yung details para ma-identify natin ang mga reconciling items. So, our cash and bank balance no, per book or per records ng entity ay 50,000. That's 150,000 minus 100,000. So, meron na tayo atong cash in bank balance per book is 50,000. Sa bank naman, sa bank statement, based sa bank statement, sa ano bang meron sa bank statement? So, nandyan na yung pangalan, account number, yung pangalan ng company, yung anong bangko to, of course, mga heading yan. So, merong date, merong check number, yung mga reference dito, then merong debit side, and then merong credit side. So, in an actual bank statement, sometimes you'll not see any more withdrawals and deposits, no? So, basta dito na side, that's debit. Ito yung credit nila. And then your running balance. So, check nyo lang, especially if a problem yan, check lang ang accuracy ng running balance na kung tama ba siya. Like, 60, nag-start siya ng 60. So, withdrawal man ito. So, you deduct 5,000. Then, that's 55. 55 minus 10, 45. 27 minus 18. So, you have 45 minus 18, you have 27. You have 27 plus 20, kasi ito credits man ito. So, you have 47,000. 47 again, minus 2. 45. 45 plus 30, so you have 75. And so on. So, it turned out that yung balance natin per bank statement ay 84,000. So, cash in bank per book, 50,000. Cash in bank per bank statement or cash per bank statement is 84,000. Okay, so, step 2, we will now trace transactions in your company records against the records of the bank. So, let us compare the records of the book or the company and the records of the bank. So, let us start with the cash receipts. So, in actual, ito talaga yung gagawin, no? Gamit ka ng pen or you use something para ma-tick mark mo yung mga items na nakita mo, na na-trace mo dito sa book records and sa bank records. So, let's start with the cash receipts. No? For example, ito, January 5. I-trace natin ito kasi this is cash receipt. So, most probably, you have to find that in the credit side sa records ng bangko, doon sa deposits. So, yung January 5 na-reflect as cash receipts sa records ng company. Dito sa bangko, na-reflect siya noong January 6. Okay, so meaning, reconciled na yan sila. So, let us just have a tick mark. So, crash out na natin yan. Okay, next. Another is yung cash receipts natin nung January 13. So, check lang natin, yung 20,000 ba nag-reflect na doon sa bangko? Yes, nandun na sa January 14. So, tick mark na natin yan. Another, yung sa January 25, deposits nung January 25 or cash receipts ng January 35, check natin kung meron dito. Meron na, nag-reflect siya noong January 26. So, crash out lang natin. And then, lastly, nung January 31, 40,000 cash receipts ito. So, kung titingnan natin dito sa ating bank statement, wala tayong makikitang 40,000. So, in short class, itong 40,000 na to, we have identified already, a reconciling item. So, check na lang natin, anong klaseng reconciling item ito? So, itong 40,000 na to, is it a book reconciling item or a bank reconciling item? Yes, this is a bank reconciling item. So, what type or what specifically, anong klaseng bank reconciling item? This is a deposit in transit. So, this is a deposit in transit. So, meaning, nasa record na ng company, pero hindi pa siya nag-reflect sa records ng entity or ng bangko. Sorry. Hindi pa siya naka-reflect as deposit doon sa bangko. So, this is a deposit in transit, which is a bank reconciling item. So, after the cash receipts, kasi tapos na nating na-trace ang mga cash receipts, proceed naman tayo sa cash disbursements. So, sa cash disbursements naman, meron itong mga check number, kasi alam natin na pag cash disbursements, diba, i-through natin or mag-i-issue tayo ng cheque. So, the same thing, what we have to do is to simply trace transactions from your company's records to that of the records of the entity. So, for example, here, yung check number 721, 5,000. So, check naman natin doon sa debits, credits ng entity's records, debits ng bank's records. So, dito, we have 5,000. This is already reconciled. So, nag-reflect na doon sa bank statement. Another is yung 722 na cheque amounting 10,000. So, that is also reconciled na. Cash out lang natin. Then, nung January 10, nag-issue siya ng check number 723. So, it was already presented for payment sa bank nung January 12. So, this is already reconciled. So, next, no, yung 724. So, the same din, reflected already in your bank statement. Next, yung check number 725. So, kung titingnan natin dito sa ating bank statement, hindi pa siya naka-reflect. So, ibig sabihin, this amount here, 37,500. And yung 28,000 natin ay actually mga reconciling items. So, anong klaseng reconciling items? Itong dalawang to, these are considered as outstanding checks, no, or OC. Mga outstanding checks sila. So, which are mga bank reconciling items. So, we have already identified bank reconciling items na deposit in transit and outstanding checks. So, looking at your records here sa yung cash ledger, no, or cash and bank ledger. So, lahat na ay na-account na natin. No? So, yung mga hindi na-cash out, ibig sabihin mga reconciling items yun. So, let us look at our bank statement. So, dito sa bank statement, ano yung mga items na hindi natin na-cash out? So, kasi yun naman yung mga book reconciling items. So, example, ito, 15,000. Hindi siya na-reflect doon sa ating book records. So, merong additional information, no, dito sa baba. So, sabi niya, the credit memo of 15,000 on January 26 represents proceeds of note collected by bank in favor of the company. So, ito pala ay credit memo. No? So, credit memo, this is a book reconciling item. So, itong 15,000 na to, dapat naka-reflect na yan doon sa records ng company kasi it's a credit memo. Specifically, it's a collection, no, ng note by the bank. Another is ito, your 5,000 RT and your 1,000 SC. So, RT as written in the problem, that is a return check. No? So, nag-return ang check amounting to 5,000. So, meron pang additional information dito. RT of 5,000 represents check of customer deposited previously but returned by bank because of no sufficient fund. So, you have 5,000 and we are also debited. No? Meron pang isang debit memo. Itong SC. That's service charge of 1,000. So, itong dalawang to, no, they are mga reconciling items, mga debit memos, no, or specifically a book reconciling items. Ito dito sa kabila, this is a credit memo. Still a book reconciling items. So, after determining, no, after identifying your reconciling items, we are now ready to prepare a formal na bank reconciliation statement. So, let us have first the adjusted balance method. So, di ba, kanina, we already determined the balances, no, per bank and per book. So, if we are to recall, magkano nga ba yung balance natin per book? Okay. So, again, no, yung balance ng ating book ay 50,000 as we have determined kanina. So, encode lang natin. Okay, so we have 50,000. For bank naman, we have determined that it was, if I'm not mistaken, that was 84,000 ito. So, include lang din natin 84,000. Okay? Then, nasa baba. Balance per bank. So, we're actually referring to unadjusted balance, no, per book and per bank. So, ito yung mga balanse. Now, after that, no, identify na natin kanina yung mga reconciling items. So, let's start with our bank reconciling items. So, sabi natin, meron tayong deposit in transit. No? So, yung deposit in transit, we have to add it. No? I-add natin yan kasi that is already recorded in the books. No? Kaso lang, hindi pa siya na-report as cash receipts, no, per bank. So, we have to add 40,000 here. Okay. So, next is, you just get the total na lang. So, add natin. Then, after that, if you have already your deposit in transit, now let us consider another reconciling item. So, we have outstanding checks. Now, so, still, these are bank reconciling items. So, sulat lang natin. I-type lang natin. This is your outstanding check. So, lagyan natin ng check number, no? Para mas madali ang ating pag-trace, no? In the later na mga dates. So, the amount is 37,000. And then the other one, another outstanding check. That's check number 726. So, the amount here is 28,000. So, you have a total of yan. Yan yung total outstanding checks. So, magkano yung adjusted na bank balance? That's 124,000 minus 59,000. Or, 65,000. So, you'll have 59,000. Okay. So, ito yung adjusted bank balance natin. Nauna nating makompute ang adjusted bank balance kasi mas nauna natin na-identify yung mga deposit in transit tsaka outstanding checks. So, punta naman tayo sa mga book reconciling items. So, for the book reconciling items, na-determine natin na meron tayong credit memo. So, yan. So, you simply add it here. So, this one is a note collected, no, by bank. So, the amount is 15,000. So, we have our NSF check. No, that amount is 5,000. And then, we have another debit memo. Another debit memo is your service charge. So, the amount is 1,000. Kung i-add natin it or kung i-deduct natin ito doon sa total natin, that's 50 plus 15. So, 65,000. So, i-deduct natin yung 6,000. So, you also have 59,000. So, you see, under the adjusted balance method, our output or the total amount, no, na i-report natin, no, is yung adjusted or the correct na cash balance. Which is, of course, the same lang yan, no? Book balance or bank balance. So, same sila. So, that's it, no? Your adjusted balance method. So just to complete this, na after you have your bank reconciliation, balance na sila. So the next thing that you have to do is to prepare your adjusting entries. So just take note, class, that only book reconciling items needs to be or will need adjusting entries. Kasi yung mga bank reconciling items naman ay magre-reflect lang naman yan sa bank. So what needs adjustment are those items na considered as or classified as book reconciling items. Like, for example, yung note collected by bank, no? So, lagay na lang natin dito sa baba. Mga adjusting entries. So, you have here, for your adjusting entries, para sa number 1, that is note collected by bank. So, based on the information na meron tayo sa problem kanina, sabi niya that 15,000 actually is a proceeds from a note collected by bank in favor of the company. So, that is a collection. So, we debit cash in bank. So, the amount is 15,000. And then, we credit, of course, notes payable kasi note naman daw ito. Notes receivable, sorry. No, we debit note receivable. So, the amount is 15,000. So, with that entry, you have already recognized your collection. So, you increased your cash in bank account, and then you record the decrease also in your notes receivable because of that collection. So, another is for your, aside from this 15,000, you'll have your NSF check. So, your NSF check, your entry niyan is, diba, na-return man yung check. So, you look at the additional information. So, sabi niya dito, that 5,000 check is a customer's check, pero na-return ng bangko. So, if that's a customer's check, so, isi-set up na lang natin ulit ang kanyang accounts receivable. And then, makikredit tayo ng cash in bank. So, the amount is 5,000. 5,000. Okay? And then, lastly, yung sa number 3, yung sa service charge. So, we'll just debit bank service charge. That's an expense. The amount is 1,000. And then, we credit, of course, cash in bank. So, the amount is 1,000. So, there you have it, our adjusted balance method, the bank reconciliation statement, and our adjusting entries. So, again, ang ating, ang reconciling items na mga kailangan ng adjusting entries, ayun lang, mga adjusting entries, or mga book reconciling items, So, ang mga book reconciling items lang, ang nangangailangan ng adjusting entries para ma-update ang ating records. Okay, so let us now proceed to the book-to-bank method naman. So, siguro i-copy na lang muna natin yung mga reconciling items dito para mas madalian tayo. Copy ko to. Okay, going back, so now let's have book-to-bank method. So, take note, class, that ang objective natin dito ay yung balance per book ay i-reconcile natin sa balance per bank. So, let's start with the balance per book. So, diba, our balance per book is 50,000. So, that's the amount of our unadjusted book balance. Tapos, sabi natin, pag book to bank, lahat ng mga book reconciling items, no, yung mga book reconciling items, ang treatment natin ay the same lang. So, asan ba yung mga book reconciling items dito? So, ito, tsaka ito. No? So, this 3 items here ay mga book reconciling items. So, ang treatment natin sa kanila ay as is. So, our NSF check, our note collected by bank, that's a credit memo. So, let's just add it, no? Note collected by bank. I-add natin yan. So, that's 15,000. Whereas, our NSF check and your bank service charge, of course, ito sila class, i-deduct natin. No? Same lang doon sa ating adjusted balance method. Now, for those mga bank reconciling items, sabi natin, dapat i-reverse natin, no, yung ating integrate dito sa bank recon. Bakit natin i-reverse? Kasi nga, itong mga items na to, like here, deposit in transit, no, na 40,000. Itong 40,000 na to is already included in your balance per book. Kaso, ang gusto mo, dapat itong 50,000 mo equal siya doon sa balance per bank. So, ang gagawin natin, yung deposit in transit, no, na 40,000, dapat i-deduct natin yan. Kasi nga, nasama na doon sa 50,000. So, deposit in transit. So, the amount is 40,000. Another is yung outstanding checks, no? So, yung outstanding checks na yan are already deducted from your balance per book. Pero per bank, wala pa yan, no? Hindi pa yan na-deduct. So, ang gusto mo is, ang makuha natin na balance dito ay yung balance per bank. So, dapat i-add back natin yung outstanding check. No? I-add back natin yung mga outstanding checks na to. So, this is 37,000 and 28,000. So, again, we added it back because we wanted, no, to get a balance equal to the balance per bank, which is unadjusted. So, that's why we have to add it back. Kasi na-deduct na yan per book, pero per bank, wala pa. So, this is your total. Get lang natin yung total. So, that's 89,000 sa kabila. Oh, that's 80,000. So, plus, that's 130. Then, dito, our total deductions. 46,000. So, deduct lang natin. So, yan, no? We have 84,000. So, this is correct, no? Kasi, if we are to check our unadjusted bank balance, that was 84,000. Yan, no? Diba? 84,000 yan. Ito. So, 84,000 siya. So, tama yung ginawa natin na book-to-bank method. Okay? So, next tayo, let's have the bank-to-book naman. So, baliktad naman, bank-to-book. So, copy ulit natin to para meron lang tayong reference. So, yung bank-to-book method naman. So, pag bank-to-book, bank-to-book method class, no? So, mag-start tayo with the bank balance. So, the bank balance, diba, was 84,000. So, ang atong target is dapat ang ending balance natin dito ay yung 50,000 na book balance. So, just like what we did kanina sa book-to-bank method, so since ito bank-to-book method, so lahat ng mga bank reconciling items are treated in the same manner doon sa adjusted na method or adjusted balance method. But for your book reconciling items, ang treatment natin ay reverse, no? Kasi nga we want to disregard it muna since our objective is to bring the balance per bank equal to the balance per book. So what are the bank reconciling items? So mag-start tayo with the deposit in transit. So the deposit in transit natin, i-add natin yan kasi that's a regular bank reconciling item. The amount is 40,000. So, your mga outstanding checks, for example, should be deducted kasi that's the normal way of doing it, no, in an adjusted balance method. Check number. So, ang check number natin ay 725. So, the amount there is 37,000 for the 726. That's 726. Okay? And so, for the book reconciling items, baliktarin natin, no? Like, una yung note collected by bank. So, yung note collected by bank, supposedly, ina-add natin yan, diba? Pero since dito, yung 15,000 na yan, that is already included in your balance per bank. So, gusto natin, ang ma-arrive natin na amount ay yung unadjusted na book balance. So, since hindi pa itong 15,000, hindi pa siya na-take up, no, sa ating book balance. So, what we have to do is we have to deduct, no, your credit memo or your note collected by bank. So, the amount is 15,000. Yan. Whereas, yung mga NSF check, no, yung mga service charge, yung mga debit memos na yan, this item should be added back. So, this debit memo should be added back, no, to your bank balance. Why? Because per bank balance, they're already deducted. Pero per book, wala pa man yan na-recognize. So, since our objective is to bring the balance of your bank equal to your book balance, so that's why we have to add them. So, add natin dito ang NSF check. So, yung amount ay 5,000 and yung service charge ay 1,000. Okay, so that's this is 84,000 plus 46,000. So, deduct lang natin ito. No? So, your balance per book is 50,000. Yan. So, that's how you prepare a bank-to-book method. Na? So, take note class na pwede naman class na example, no? Meron ka ng adjusted balance method. So, for example, meron ka ng adjusted balance method. So, since alam mo na yung mga book reconciling items tsaka yung bank reconciling items, no, mas madali na lang kapag gumawa ka ng book to bank or bank to book method. Kasi alam mo, example, pag book to bank method, so you would know that book reconciling items are treated in the same manner just like dito sa adjusted balance method. Tapos, yung bank reconciling items, yun yung i-reverse. No? Kung saan ka papunta na balance, yun yung reverse yung treatment mo sa reconciling items. Tapos, pag Bank to book naman, yung mga bank reconciling items, ito naman sila, yung mga bank reconciling items, ang treatment sa kanila ay the same lang. Like deposit in transit will be added and then outstanding checks will be deducted. But if they are mga book reconciling items, then ang iyong treatment sa mga book reconciling items ay i-reverse mo. So your NSF check and service charge will be added, and then your credit memo or note collected by bank shall be deducted. Kasi nga, hindi pa siya na-take up doon sa book. Kung saan, yun yung gusto mong balanse na lumabas. Okay? So, I guess that would be all. Thank you for your patience in listening and watching this video. I hope you learned something. God bless everyone and bye!